key to never getting angry or bothered by anyone lies in learning how to control your emotional reactions. First, understand that you cannot control other people's actions, but you can control how you respond to them. When someone behaves in a way that triggers irritation, pause and take a deep breath before reacting. This moment of stillness gives you space to choose a response rather than automatically reacting with anger. Another important practice is reframing your thoughts. Instead of viewing someone's behavior as an offense, try to see it as a reflection of their own experiences or struggles, not a personal attack on you. Cultivating empathy in these moments can lessen the emotional charge and reduce irritation. Being mindful and present also helps in this process. When you're in the moment and focused on what's happening right now, you're less likely to overthink or get caught up in frustrations. Acceptance is a powerful tool. Accept that people may act in ways you don't like, but it doesn't need to affect your peace. Finally, focusing on your own well-being and happiness instead of relying on external factors gives you the strength to not be easily bothered by others. Over time, with patience and practice, you'll develop a resilience that makes it easier to stay calm and composed no matter what others do. Learning how to stay calm, composed, and unaffected by the actions and words of others is not an easy feat. It takes practice, self-awareness, and a deep understanding of human behavior, emotions, and the underlying triggers that can lead to anger and frustration. The ability to never get angry or bothered by anyone is often seen as a skill that only certain people possess, but the truth is, anyone can cultivate this mindset. It's about building resilience to the outside world and creating emotional boundaries that protect your peace. At the core of this ability lies emotional intelligence, which encompasses self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills. Emotional intelligence is not something that you either have or don't have. It's something that can be developed with time and effort. When you increase your emotional intelligence, you become better at handling situations that might otherwise provoke an angry reaction or cause frustration. Understanding that you are not responsible for how others behave is one of the most freeing insights you can have. When you realize that other people's actions and words are a reflection of their own experiences, thoughts, and emotions, and not necessarily a reflection of you, you begin to detach emotionally from their behavior. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others, but rather you stop letting their behavior dictate how you feel. You start to realize that your emotional state is within your control and that you have the power to choose how to react to any given situation. One of the most important things to remember when striving to stay calm and composed is that emotions are temporary. When someone says or does something that triggers you, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the anger or frustration you feel in that moment is permanent. However, if you allow yourself to step back and observe your feelings, you'll quickly realize that emotions are fleeting and often pass as quickly as they arrive. By reminding yourself that the anger you feel is temporary, you can prevent it from gaining power over you. A key factor in not being bothered by others is learning how to respond rather than react. There's a significant difference between the two. Reacting is an automatic, impulsive response, often driven by emotions such as anger or fear. It's a knee-jerk reaction that happens without much thought or consideration. Responding, on the other hand, is a conscious choice. It's a measured, thoughtful reaction that takes into account the situation, your emotions, and your desired outcome. The next time someone says or does something that irritates you, take a moment to pause. Rather than reacting immediately, take a deep breath and give yourself time to think. Ask yourself, what is the best way to handle this situation? This pause allows you to avoid saying or doing something that you might later regret. It also gives you the space to approach the situation with calmness and clarity. Another way to avoid being angered by others is to develop a deeper sense of self-awareness. Understand what triggers you and why. Often we get upset because something someone does reminds us of past experiences or unresolved issues. For example, if someone interrupts you during a conversation and that triggers anger, it may be because you feel disrespected. However, if you examine why you feel disrespected, you may realize that this feeling stems from past experiences where you weren't heard or by understanding the root cause of your reactions, you can work through those issues and stop allowing them to control your emotional responses. Self-awareness also means knowing your emotional boundaries and understanding when you need to step back from a situation. If someone is consistently bothering you or making you angry, you have the right to remove yourself from that environment. You don't have to subject yourself to negativity or toxic behavior. Knowing when to walk away is just as important as knowing how to stay calm in difficult situations. It's also crucial to practice empathy in your interactions with others. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. When you empathize with someone, you see the situation from their perspective, which can help you approach it with more compassion and less judgment. For example, if someone is rude or aggressive towards you, rather than immediately getting angry, try to consider what might be causing their behavior. Are they having a bad day? Are they dealing with personal struggles? When you begin to empathize with others, you realize that their behavior is not always about you. It's often a reflection of their own internal struggles, and by understanding this, you can release any feelings of anger or resentment. Another important practice is reframing your thoughts. Our thoughts shape how we feel, and often we get upset because of the way we interpret a situation. For instance, someone cuts you off in traffic. You might automatically think, that person is so rude and inconsiderate. This thought leads to feelings of anger and frustration. However, if you reframe that thought and say, maybe they're in a hurry, or maybe they didn't see me, you may feel less angry. Reframing allows you to shift your perspective and view the situation in a way that doesn't trigger a negative emotional response. The more you practice reframing your thoughts, the easier it becomes to stay calm and composed in challenging situations. Mindfulness is another powerful tool for managing your emotions. When you practice mindfulness, you focus on the present moment without judgment. You observe your thoughts and feelings without becoming attached to them. Mindfulness allows you to recognize when you're beginning to feel anger or frustration, and it gives you the opportunity to choose how to respond. By staying present and aware of your emotions, you can avoid getting swept away by them. Meditation is one practice that can help you cultivate mindfulness. Regular meditation helps train your mind to stay focused and calm, making it easier to stay composed in everyday situations. In addition to mindfulness, gratitude can play a significant role in your ability to stay calm and unaffected by others. When you focus on what you're grateful for, it shifts your mindset from one of lack and frustration to one of abundance and appreciation. Gratitude helps you recognize the positive aspects of your life and your interactions with others, which makes it easier to let go of negativity. The next time someone bothers you, try to pause and reflect on something you're grateful for. This simple practice can help you shift your energy and perspective, allowing you to remain calm and unaffected. Another aspect of emotional resilience is self-care. When you take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally, you're better equipped to handle challenges and difficult situations. Prioritize activities that promote your well-being, such as exercising, eating well, getting enough sleep, and engaging in hobbies that bring you joy. When you're in a positive state of mind, you're less likely to be triggered by others. Self-care is not just about pampering yourself, it's about maintaining a healthy balance in all areas of your life. Forgiveness also plays a crucial role in letting go of anger and frustration. Holding on to grudges and resentments only harms you in the long run. When you forgive others, you release the emotional burden that comes with holding on to negative feelings. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you condone someone's behavior. It simply means that you're choosing to let go of the anger and move forward. It's a way of freeing yourself from the grip of negative emotions and regaining your peace. Finally, learning to accept that not everyone will like you or treat you the way you want to be treated is an important part of emotional resilience. No matter how hard you try, you can't control how others behave or how they perceive you. Some people may be rude, inconsiderate, or even hurtful, but you have the power to choose how you respond. Instead of taking their behavior personally, remind yourself that their actions are a reflection of them, not of you. By accepting that you can't please everyone and that people will act according to their own beliefs and experiences, you free yourself from the need for external validation. In conclusion, the ability to never get angry or bothered by anyone is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending that everything is okay when it's not. It's about cultivating emotional resilience, self-awareness, and empathy and mindfulness. It's about taking responsibility for your own emotional responses and learning how to navigate difficult situations with calmness and composure. Through practice, patience, and self-reflection, you can develop the inner strength to remain unaffected by others and maintain your peace in any situation. To continue building on the concept of remaining unaffected by others, it's important to understand that true emotional mastery doesn't mean never experiencing negative emotions. It means not allowing those emotions to control your actions or hinder your peace of mind. Everyone feels frustration, anger, or irritation from time to time, but the difference between those who remain calm and those who react negatively lies in how they manage those emotions when they arise. With practice and awareness, you can significantly reduce the intensity of these emotional responses and make healthier choices when interacting with others. One critical aspect of emotional control is understanding the psychology behind human behavior. People act the way they do for a variety of reasons, sometimes because of personal struggles, external stressors, or their own insecurities. When someone behaves rudely or negatively toward you, try to remember that their actions are often a reflection of their own emotional state rather than an indictment of you personally. For example, someone who constantly interrupts others may have deep-seated insecurities that cause them to seek attention in an aggressive or disrespectful way. By recognizing this, you can disarm the situation by not taking their behavior personally, thus preventing it from triggering a negative emotional response. When you start viewing others through a lens of compassion, instead of judgment, you can navigate even the most challenging interactions with ease. Empathy, the ability to step into someone else's shoes and understand their feelings, can significantly shift the way you respond to others. It's essential to remember that everyone is going through their own battles and facing their own difficulties. If you see someone who's acting out or treating others poorly, take a moment to wonder if there's something deeper going on in their life. Maybe they're overwhelmed at work, dealing with family issues, or experiencing anxiety or depression. Once you begin to recognize the humanity in them, that it's much easier to stay calm, composed, and unbothered, even when confronted with challenging personalities or difficult situations. Additionally, it's important to realize that not all negative behavior is meant to harm or upset you. Often people act out of their own habitual patterns of behavior without intending to provoke others. When someone is inconsiderate, disrespectful, or rude, they may not even realize the impact of their actions. In these instances, it's crucial not to internalize their behavior. Remind yourself that their actions are a reflection of their own patterns, and they may not even be aware of how they are affecting you. Taking things personally can add unnecessary emotional weight and create stress where none is needed. Instead of reacting in anger or frustration, try to let go of any emotional attachment to the situation and simply observe it happening outside of you without giving it more power over your inner peace. Another way to reduce the impact of others on your emotional state is by setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. Boundaries are an essential component of any healthy relationship, and they play a significant role in ensuring that you are not negatively affected by others' behavior. When you establish clear personal boundaries, you are essentially telling others what is acceptable and what is not in terms of how they treat you. By setting limits on the behaviors you are willing to tolerate, you are actively protecting your emotional well-being and ensuring that you are not constantly being dragged into toxic or unproductive situations. Setting boundaries also means being assertive and communicating your needs in a respectful but firm manner. This may involve speaking up when someone's behavior is making you uncomfortable or stepping away from a conversation that's becoming too heated. Assertiveness is not about being aggressive or domineering. Rather, it's about standing up for yourself while still respecting the other person's rights and feelings. Being assertive allows you to maintain your peace without resorting to anger or frustration, as you are taking proactive steps to manage the interaction in a healthy way. Another effective technique for staying calm and unbothered is practicing deep self-compassion. Many people find that they are most reactive to others when they are feeling insecure or down about themselves. When we feel vulnerable, we're more likely to be affected by others' words and actions because we're already in a sensitive emotional state. Developing self-compassion helps you treat yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and patience that you would offer a close friend. Instead of criticizing yourself when you do react negatively, practice being gentle with yourself and acknowledging that it's okay to have emotions. However, you can always choose how to respond to those emotions in a healthy, constructive way. Self-compassion also involves recognizing your worth and accepting yourself fully, flaws and all. When you have a strong sense of self-worth, the opinions or behaviors of others are less likely to shake your confidence or upset your peace. Knowing that you are enough just as you are enables you to detach from external validation and create a deeper sense of inner security. When you no longer seek approval or acceptance from others, you become much less affected by their behavior, as you are no longer relying on them to validate your worth. Another strategy for avoiding anger or frustration in challenging interactions is practicing the art of detachment. Detachment doesn't mean becoming indifferent or emotionally distant from others. Rather, it means emotionally disengaging from situations that don't serve your well-being. It involves recognizing when something or someone is trying to pull you into an emotional whirlwind and deciding not to get swept up in it. For instance, if someone is criticizing you or trying to provoke you, detachment allows you to acknowledge their words without allowing them to take root in your emotional state. You can simply observe their behavior without internalizing it and move on with your day without it affecting your mood. One way to practice detachment is by reminding yourself that you cannot control how others behave, but you can control how you respond. Whenever you find yourself getting pulled into an emotionally charged situation, take a step back and remind yourself that you have the power to stay calm and composed, regardless of the other person's actions. By practicing this form of emotional detachment, you give yourself permission to let go of unnecessary emotional burdens and maintain a sense of peace no matter what is happening around you. Developing a sense of humor can also go a long way in preventing anger and frustration. Humor allows you to see the lighter side of life and not take yourself or others too seriously. It helps you create emotional distance from difficult situations and makes it easier to laugh off minor annoyances. When someone says or does something that would typically irritate you, try to find something humorous about the situation. Maybe their behavior is so absurd that it makes you chuckle. Or maybe their attempt to get under your skin is so obvious that it feels almost comical. Finding humor in everyday situations can lighten your emotional load and make it easier to stay unbothered. Lastly, it's important to surround yourself with positive influences. The people you spend time with can have a significant impact on your emotional state, and being around people who are supportive, positive, uplifting can make it easier to stay calm and unshaken by external stressors. Try to build relationships with people who respect your boundaries, encourage your growth, and bring joy into your life. Having a strong support system allows you to feel emotionally grounded and less vulnerable to the negative energy of others. Conversely, if you find that certain people are consistently draining your energy or causing you distress, it may be worth reevaluating those relationships and considering whether they are serving your well-being. Ultimately, learning to never get angry or bothered by others requires practice, patience, and a commitment to personal growth. It involves cultivating emotional resilience, self-awareness, empathy, and mindfulness, and learning how to detach from situations that are beyond your control. By adopting a mindset that prioritizes your inner peace, setting healthy boundaries, and developing compassion for yourself and others, you can create an emotional foundation that allows you to navigate life's challenges with calmness and grace. When you let go of the need to control others and focus instead on controlling your own responses, you will find that you are less easily disturbed by the actions of those around you and more capable of maintaining your peace in even the most trying of circumstances. The journey to maintaining emotional composure and never letting others bother you requires not only understanding, but also consistent application of certain principles that contribute to inner peace. One of the most powerful shifts in mindset comes when you realize that people's actions are often more about them than they are about you. When you stop taking things personally, you break free from the habit of internalizing every word and gesture that comes your way, and instead you begin to filter interactions through a lens of detachment and compassion. This mindset doesn't come overnight, but with time you can train yourself to respond with kindness and understanding rather than reacting with frustration or anger. There's also a powerful technique for staying unaffected by others, developing a sense of inner calm that isn't dependent on external circumstances. Many people believe that their emotional state depends on how others treat them or the outcomes of particular situations. However, true emotional strength comes from the understanding that you can control your peace at all times, regardless of what's happening around you. The key to this lies in building a connection to your inner self, a deeper sense of who you are beyond the opinions and behaviors of others. To do this, it's essential to connect with your values, goals, and passions. When you have a clear sense of purpose and direction, the actions of others become less significant in your life. Their behavior may be annoying or frustrating, but it no longer holds the power to derail your peace. Instead, you continue on your path, undistracted and focused on what truly matters to you. When you live with intention and a sense of purpose, you are less likely to be pulled into unnecessary conflicts or allow others' negativity to impact your well-being. Moreover, learning how to let go of control is an essential part of this process. We often become frustrated with others because we want them to behave a certain way or meet our expectations. However, the truth is we cannot control others, and it's unrealistic to expect people to always act in a way that aligns with our desires. When you release the need to control others, and instead focus on controlling your reactions, you free yourself from the constant cycle of disappointment, anger, and frustration. Allowing people to be who they are without the need to change them or make them conform to your standards is an incredibly liberating practice that directly contributes to emotional freedom. Another way to cultivate emotional composure is by embracing mindfulness in everyday situations. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment without judgment. It allows you to observe your thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations without reacting to them impulsively. By practicing mindfulness, you become more aware of when you're starting to feel irritated or upset. Instead of allowing those feelings to take over, you observe them with a sense of curiosity and detachment. This practice gives you the ability to respond to challenging situations with greater clarity and calmness, rather than reacting emotionally. Mindfulness also helps you recognize that there are temporary experiences that don't define you. When you feel anger or frustration rising, you can acknowledge the emotion without allowing it to control your behavior. By observing your feelings as they arise and then letting them pass, you gain more emotional control and resilience. Over time, this practice makes it easier to maintain your composure, even in the most difficult circumstances. Additionally, understanding the impermanence of life can be a great tool for maintaining emotional balance. When you remember that everything in life is temporary, both the good and the bad, it becomes easier to let go of anger and frustration. No matter how intensely you may feel a particular emotion, it will eventually pass. Likewise, no matter how irritating or upsetting another person's behavior may seem in the moment, it is only temporary. Reminding yourself of this simple truth can help you detach from situations and return to a state of calm much quicker. A major part of mastering the ability to remain unaffected by others is learning how to respond with neutrality. Neutrality is the state of not being influenced by the emotional energy of a situation. It doesn't mean that you don't care. Rather, it means that you don't allow the situation to dictate how you feel. When you respond from a place of neutrality, you choose to observe the situation objectively without judgment or attachment. This is particularly effective when dealing with conflict or negativity, as it allows you to engage with the situation without being pulled into unnecessary emotional drama. For example, if someone says something rude or offensive, instead of reacting emotionally, you can calmly acknowledge what they've said without letting it affect your state of mind. You might say something like, "I understand that you feel that way," or "I hear what you're saying," and then move on without allowing their words to disrupt your peace. By practicing neutrality, you create a sense of emotional space that keeps you grounded and unaffected by external circumstances. Another useful strategy for maintaining your peace in the face of others' behavior is to practice the art of non-attachment. Non-attachment is the practice of not becoming overly attached to outcomes, people, or expectations. When you are attached to a specific outcome or to the way you think others should behave, you set yourself up for disappointment and frustration. Non-attachment allows you to let go of the need for things to go a certain way. When you practice this, you accept situations as they are, rather than trying to control or change them to fit your desires. Non-attachment is not about indifference or emotional detachment. Rather, it's about maintaining a healthy perspective and letting go of the need to control or manipulate the course of events. When you stop clinging to the idea that things must go according to your plans, you stop giving away your emotional energy to things that are beyond your control. Instead, you accept things as they come. And this acceptance gives you the freedom to respond with greater calm and composure. One of the most powerful tools for emotional resilience is the practice of gratitude. When you focus on what you're grateful for, it shifts your attention away from what's going wrong and toward what's going right. Gratitude can help you reframe negative situations and prevent them from bothering you. Instead of getting upset when someone behaves poorly, take a moment to reflect on the positive aspects of your life. Think about the things you're thankful for: your health, your relationships, your opportunities, and allow that sense of gratitude to fill you up. When you're focused on what you appreciate, the things that used to bother you seem less significant. Gratitude also helps you cultivate a positive mindset. When you make a habit of looking for the good in every situation, even in challenging ones, you train your mind to focus on the positive rather than the negative. This shift in perspective can have a profound impact on how you perceive the actions of others. What once might have triggered irritation or frustration might now be seen as an opportunity for growth or an invitation to practice patience and understanding. When dealing with people who constantly test your patience, it's important to remind yourself that you are in control of your responses. While you can't control what others do, you can always control how you respond. If someone consistently behaves in ways that irritate or upset you, it may be time to set clear boundaries with them. Having strong boundaries means that you are willing to protect your peace, even if that means distancing yourself from people who aren't treating you with respect. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're being rude or unkind. It means that you value yourself enough to protect your emotional well-being. Another key point is recognizing that not everyone has the same communication style or emotional needs. Sometimes, people may say or do things that seem inconsiderate simply because they don't know how to express themselves differently. People often react based on their own emotional states, and what might seem like a deliberate attack may actually be the result of someone's own struggles or frustrations. Developing empathy allows you to recognize this and respond with patience instead of anger. Understanding that everyone has different perspectives can also help you detach emotionally from their actions. Instead of assuming that someone is trying to hurt you, try to see the situation from their point of view. This doesn't mean excusing poor behavior, but it does allow you to engage more compassionately and less defensively. When you let go of the assumption that someone's behavior is aimed at you personally, it becomes much easier to remain calm and unaffected. Lastly, continuous personal growth is essential for emotional resilience. The more you work on developing yourself, whether through self-reflection, learning new skills, practicing mindfulness, or cultivating positive habits, the more you'll build the emotional foundation needed to remain unbothered by the actions of others. When you become the best version of yourself, you naturally stop being swayed by the negativity or actions of others. Your inner strength, rooted in your values, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence, becomes your shield, allowing you to stay calm and composed in even the most challenging situations. In conclusion, learning how to never get angry or bothered by anyone is a lifelong practice that involves developing emotional awareness, mindfulness, compassion, and self-discipline. By focusing on what you can control, your responses, boundaries, and mindset, you can cultivate a sense of inner peace that is unaffected by the behavior of others. With patience, empathy, and continuous growth, you can learn to navigate the world with grace, maintaining your emotional equilibrium no matter what challenges come your way.